Hey guys, Chris Storch here from chrisstorch.com. I want to walk you through the light schematics of the USS Flagg. This is the underside of the flight deck. There are basically three parts. I'll walk you through the whole thing, but the three parts are the center flight deck, that's the largest piece, the forward center flight deck, and then the elevator deck. The bow and stern decks do not have lights. They sit directly on top of the bow and the stern. So this is the light schematics. I'm going to walk through a little bit of this. We start with the power bank. I wanted to have its own power bank instead of running cables to a wall. I wanted the Flagg to be able to be freestanding with its own power source. So I purchased the AC/DC power bank, and this is it. It sits on the lower deck. You'll see it in the final video with the whole Flagg and everything set up, but it sits in the lower, very lower section. I have links on my website, chrisstorch.com, that shows you where I bought this on Amazon. From the power source, we have the light controller box. This is your source. This is your receiver for remote control. This is where your output goes to the actual lights. So we go from there to the lights. A couple of things I'll point out. The first thing that I did, these are 4-pin LED lights. And the first thing I did was get a T connector so that I could split that right off the bat for this end. And I have one section of lights here, another section here. I'll show you later in the video, I'll show you the lights themselves and how they cut. And you can customize these to the length that you want. But same thing with the wiring. Now you'll notice the bridges that I created. These are 3D printed bridges that go over the ridge because the flight deck has these ridges, and I wanted to create a smooth, almost light fixture style. So this light fixtures bridge fits over top of all these ridges. And then I went ahead and put the trussing on, and the reason I've done that is because I want you to see these connection points. It was important to have connection points that can be removed, taken apart, so that when I take the Flagg into different pieces, I'll just simply be able to unplug that. It goes to this front section, the back section, and then I'll be able to remove the trussing without any problems. So I have a connection point here. I have another connection point here. I'll move around. And you'll see the serpentine style throughout all these light fixtures. So it starts on one end, goes back to the other. And then here we have another connection point, and it takes us over to this side. I wish that I had moved this over. It's a little too close to the trussing than I had hoped. Should have moved it a little bit further to the right. I still may do that. But again, it's another T. It splits the wiring, runs around, connection point. Another T. This T is also a connection point because it separates the elevator deck from the forward center deck. And then the T allows us to go not only to the elevator deck, but go to the front side as well. And has this serpentine and ends on the front. This light option also has different colors. So if I want to move to red, I can have red lights. I can have green, I can have blue, and of course white. One of the things you'll notice about the flight deck is that the elevator deck, the ridges underneath are actually taller than the rest of the Flagg deck. So I had to create two bridges that were just a little bit taller than all of the others in order to make these light fixtures. So this is a sample of the light bridge that I made. This is the LED light strip bridge, you can basically see that what I did here was create a rectangle brick on each side, and it is connected in the middle with this bridge that connects it across. Super simple design. I have the STL file on my website, chrisstorch.com, if you want to just go and download it and make one for yourself. The length and width were basically determined by the LED strips. So whatever LED lighting that you're using, the light strips, you might want to manipulate that, the size and length and width and all of that to fit according to the light that you choose. But again, all of that's on my website if you're interested in printing your own bridges for your lights. This is the LED light spool that I use. These have worked well because you can cut these to the length that you want. You can see these little marks like here where it shows the copper. You cut that right in the middle and it gives you smaller sections to work with. Here is about an 8-inch section, and you can see that one's cut a little short, but it has 3 LED lights and then goes right back to the copper end, the connectors. Now I will say this, I ordered one set, and about every 3 feet or so, instead of these smooth cut points, they have been soldered together. It looks more like this does with the solder section, and I was kind of disappointed with that. If you get one of those, that's not the norm. If you get one of those, if you get a spool and it's filled with has been soldered together like that, send it back. Have them send you another one, and because this spool does not have that. Most spools should not. So again, if it's filled with soldering points throughout, then have them replace that. But this is about 100 feet in LED light strips, and you can cut them to size. Let me walk you through a little bit of the lighting choices. We have these different jumpers. This one, of course, is for the connection points. What I did is I cut off one end of this. I just kept this end for the connection points, and I cut this end off. The reason I did that is I didn't care much for this particular type of connector. They were a little bit harder to work with, a bit stubborn at times. A lot of times it would cause your light strip to crinkle up, and you'd have to start over again. So this was a little bit more frustrating to work with. So I switched over to this style. Again, both of these, I'll have the links available on my website. So I switched over to this connector, so you can see the difference. One is the white, the other one is kind of this clear. The reason I preferred this one to the other is because it was a lot easier to work with. It still had prefabricated holes for the wires, and then it also had a side for the LED light strip. So I like these a lot better. I'll include a link to that on my website. And then instead of just having these extension jumpers, so you have the connector jumpers that have the black end. You'll need those for connection points to get through the trussing. These you don't need. Initially, I liked these for getting from one point to the other, but then I discovered this is a lot better. Just buy a spool of the 4-pin, 4-color LED light strip. A spool of that goes a long way. As you can see, I've still got so much of it left. And then utilizing those connectors and creating your own. And that's what I did for my final product. Is I ended up using my own cable, these as the connector points, and then these for the jumpers for the break points, so that you would be able to get through the trussing. I mentioned that I'm not a fan of that style, that connector type of piece. However, this is the only T that I have found that allowed me to get that connection point. So I bought a kit that included these T points. I needed, I think, 3 of them for my light schematics. So I got 3 of those in the design, and it was still necessary. So they still work great, but these are just, they're really a challenge to work with. I wish that there was another option. I'll keep looking, and if I see an updated option, I'll probably switch over to it. But until then, this is the T part that I used. You might wonder what adhesive I used to connect the bridges to the flight deck. I've tried a number of different things. I've tried some double-sided stick tape. I tried some 3M, a lot of different things. I finally settled on this E6000. I use it just about for everything now. This is the lighting for sick bay or the infirmary. It is located just below the elevator. And the important thing to notice here is that the lighting tracks, the bridges are a little bit taller than the other sections. But here you can get a good view of the layout. I have not connected this to the top or secured it to the top section yet, but I wanted you to see the connection port. And as long as I keep that connection port longer and loose, the elevator is actually still operational. This is going to be a look at the lighting area of what I call the maintenance hangar. It is actually the front part of the ship, so the bow of the ship just below. And our purpose here is to show you some of the lighting. And we're going to do two different sides. We're going to do both sides, this angle, so that you can see. At the very top here, I did not continue the lighting up underneath the bow of the ship, but it can certainly be done. On other models, I have placed lighting into this section as well of the bow of the ship. I want to give you a view from this side before we switch over to the other side of what I call the maintenance hangar. We're now looking at the port side near the bow of the ship. We're going to take a look at the lighting. But again, I did not light up the front, but it can be done. If you continue from this point, you can continue the lighting and run wire into either the upper section or even the lower section. This was one of those points where it was a little closer than I wanted. I wish I'd moved this over a little bit. I will certainly do that on the next one. We are on the port side of the ship. Got to give you some bearings. There's the bow, superstructure, stern of the ship, and here is the berthing quarters, the bunk room, whatever you might call it. And the lighting here are fixtures going front to back. Again, I did not connect the connection point or secure it to the top. It is connected, it's just not secured to the top. The reason I want to make sure that you see where those connection points are made. Moving down the port side of the ship near the stern, I've added a restroom just off the bunk. And the lighting here, this is largely what I call the cargo bay cargo hangar. I will remove the restroom. The restroom is removable by design. I'll remove it so we can get a better look at the lights. Now that the restroom is removed, I can go back underneath to the cargo hangar and kind of give you a better view of some of the lighting. The lower section also has lights. This is the section that I usually have the well. I have storage for the blueprints, extra parts, and so forth. This is also the power bank is stored underneath, but I want to give you a view here as well. Now here we didn't have to use the light bridges. We just put the lights directly on the wood. If there's a little discoloration, it sometimes can look green and white, like alternating. The reason for that is just the direction of the lights themselves, which direction you're looking at it from. We're back to the starboard side of the ship. Just below the superstructure, we have an access panel to what I call the commons area. It's right next to the sick bay. It's a hinged wall, and we can open it up and see inside. It is actually connected with a magnetic latch. So I can pull here, move that back in place. Again, magnetic latch. And this allows us inside of the commons area. Now I'll remove some of the furnishing so we can get in and look at the lighting. Again, going into the commons area, just below the superstructure. We're gonna look at the lighting here. So again, we see how the light fixtures lay out. We can also see connection points. The other side takes you over into the bunk area. And that is the lighting for commons. We are now again at the stern of the ship. This is the cargo hangar. Restroom is already removed. And we'll look at the lighting fixtures here. And this is where the controller is mounted to the wall. The controller has the sensor for the remote control. And then I can send that signal up to the flight deck. There's also a Y splitter. I haven't attached it, but the Y splitter in the next video will cover lighting up the superstructure with the same system. One goes up, the other lighting system goes down for up underneath. And of course it's all plugged. It goes through the floor and goes into the ship's power bank. This is an option for lighting up the mast. And it's battery operated, so you don't have to worry about running lights up the side. They twist on and off. And if you want to keep one of the NV radars, there's a little nice spot just off the superstructure where you can put that as well. I usually keep them in storage. It's one of the reasons that I have the foot locker. And inside the foot locker, I can keep additional parts. This is a landing strip that is battery operated. Each of the bulbs operate independently. They twist on and off. They don't have a super long lifespan, but you can buy them in bulk and use them as you need them. If you have the ability to do 3D printing, this was a great find, just especially if you like lights and lighting up the flag. This is a little light trailer. Again, the trailer itself is 3D printed, and the light fixture comes from Playmobil. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you get a chance, visit me at chrisdorch.com. You can see the store online, and there's tons of free resources as well. Again, thanks for watching the video.